All right, so guess what? It is about time to start because our lovely, lovely special guest has arrived. So please, since you've already met her at opening ceremonies and you've seen her in the hallways and you've seen her in the photos and you've seen her in autographs, you already have seen what an amazing person this is. I mean, she runs circles around everybody here. And she drinks VP, so I don't know. That's for Miss Katy. Everybody please give a big welcome to the amazing Katy Manning.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine when we did the reading of the Green Death, and I was doing all the Welsh miners and all the, all the army people. I said, "Is there any women in this?" And apart from Joe had like 3 lines in it or something. And I'm reading the, and I'd just flown in from Australia, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, "Oh, down in the mines," and I'm doing all these voices. And then comes the brig, and then the doctor. And I said, it's a very rude thing to say, but I was actually turning into a fella. I was growing things where I didn't think I had them. I left there, I was very butch.
So as you see, we're just going to launch right into it. Okay, we have a...
No, it's not alcohol, I don't drink. I don't know what it is, actually. It's a really weird color. Well, here goes.
Okay, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and we have a lot of people in the audience who are going to want to ask questions of you. But we have, well, there's one thing I want to tell you first. Everybody here has heard me say that this is TimeGate's 10th anniversary. I just want you to know that from the very beginning, you were on my list of dream guests.
I'm sorry, but it's like I'm getting the 3rd degree from that light there. It's very bright. Now, can we turn it down?
It can be turned down. There's a dimmer. Hey, look at that.
If not, I'm slowly moving backwards.
Okay.
I've only got 1 contact lens in today, so lights are kind of all spread and blurry. So I'm in a very different little space today. Welcome to my world. Sorry, darling, you asked me a question. I was really rude.
Oh, I was just telling you that you have been one of my dream guests ever since we started doing this.
Aww.
So it's kind of an anniversary present to us that you're here.
Oh, that's... You won't be saying that later. You'll be saying, "Let me out of here."
Now, the first order of business that we have to take care of.
Yes.
Concerns a photograph.
Now, I wonder what that could be.
It's not what you think.
It's not. You're sure?
It's a photograph that came out last year.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And it's a photograph.
I was going to say, have you seen my children?
It's this, so the audience can see it. It's this one here.
At that time, I was in the next studio. I wasn't just like, saying, "Oh, I think I'll nip up to Cardiff and, pop in and say, 'Hello, Peter.'" Anyway, and I didn't realise, because I often don't realise when people sort of, like when I introduced myself to John Barrowman once, and I said, "How do you do, Mr. Barrowman?" And then Mark Gatiss was next to him, and I said, "How do you do, Mr. Gatiss? I'm Katy Manning." And they just fell about and said, "Oh, come on, darling." Mark Gatiss said, "You broke my heart when you left the show," And I kind of forget that they were fans, So apparently, Peter wanted to meet me. He's changed his mind now. Peter wanted to meet me because he thought I was quite nice when I was in Doctor Who. And I was in the next studio doing a television role, playing a lady who, how can I put this? She ran a farm for people with kind of nervous dispositions and things like that, and she helped him through with this farm. And she's a bit of a hippie, and she used to run around, yeah, I know. And she used to run around in the fields with the deer and things like that, and she got a tick. So when I met Peter, I had just been on television having a large tick removed from me, because I was in danger of getting Lyme's disease. I just thought I'd share that with you. I mean, and it's not something you want to say, oh, lovely to meet you, Peter. You know, I have a large tick in my back, which is being removed. No, it's not real, it's for television. Anyway, so when we got there, it was so sweet because he said to me, he said, oh, I said, it's so great to see you, la, la, la. And he said, oh, can we do the point shot? I've got to do the point shot. Get my wee iPad, I've got to do the shot. So then he said, oh, but I've got to have the red bit shot. I said, darling, I'm an expert. And so I said, I put my arm around you and I just carefully hold it back. And there you have your rabbit. I was taught by the best. And so I did this. And then he said, and then I said, oh, you know, because I've been in the TARDIS. You know now I've probably got the record for as many doctors I worked with.
Yeah, name them off. You have worked with.
Right, I did the 3 doctors, so that's Pat Troughton, William Hartnell, John Pertwee. Then I worked with, obviously, Matt Smith. And then on audio, I worked with Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Peter Davidson. So I'm moving on up the ranks, honey. Anyway, so then I sort of went up and I said, oh, you know, what changes have you made? Because it's like, you know, 60-minute makeover. When each doctor goes into his TARDIS, he wants something different. You know, oh, they're movie stars, you know. Gee, I love the room, but I want fur on the walls. Anyway, so then he said, so I'm bending over looking at this mind-bending thing that he has now in this thing. And the next thing I know is right behind me showing me how to use it. And that's why the other pictures are like they are. And of course, when those went up on Twitter, you know, a friend of mine said, all I did was become her little security guard to go into the studio next door. And next thing I know, you know, she's absolutely blowing away Twitter. And trending, darling. And I said to my daughter and my son, I said, I may be a pensioner, dear, but I'm trending on Twitter. So I demand respect.
Mr. Capaldi grew up watching you and John Pertwee.
Yes.
And you were his doctor and companion. And even lobbied the BBC to let him run the Doctor Who fan club officially and all this kind of stuff. Was he kind of starstruck to meet you?
Well, how could you be starstruck to meet me?
I was.
I mean, hello, look at me. I mean, I look like a demented Muppet. Well, he was rather lovely, and I do think he was kind of rather enjoying it, you know, meeting me, and he was very complimentary, and which was sweet. And I was telling him how I loved, well, he did a show called In the Thick of It.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And he's a marvelous actor, and you know, I knew he'd be terrific because he's a seasoned, what we call, and what I believe I have always been, is a working actor. And I knew that he had the experience, I knew he had the passion, and the love for the whole program to bring this extraordinary new doctor to our screens. Because when people ask me, so you won't ask me this question, I'm going to answer it now.
Who's your favourite doctor?
I'm actually going to say, I don't have one, truly. I mean, obviously I have my friend John, and so on, you know, Pertwee, but I don't have a favourite doctor because in my opinion, the character of the doctor is one character, And each actor that has played it has brought something extraordinary and unexpected to the part. And that's what I enjoy so much about watching. So I don't have a favorite, because they're all doing something wonderful.
Now, did you get your opportunity to meet Michelle Gomez?
I do wish you could taste this. I'm not kidding you. I keep drinking it, and it tastes like boiled candies. It is so disgusting. Anyway, gee, I hope it's not alcohol, because I'm warning you if it is. We're all in trouble. I don't drink well. Anyway, sorry, darling.
You met Michelle Gomez?
Oh, well, that made me the happiest woman in the world when they turned the master into the mistress. And I'll say this, and there'll be lots of people going, oh, don't agree with her. But every year when a new doctor is being cast, we go through the same old talking. Now make it a woman. Just because. That's not a good enough reason to do something like that. And the part, as Barry Letts once said, it was written for a man. It is very much so written for a man. But the master, however, I think has been a beautiful curve, and I love the fact that it's now the mistress. It works brilliantly for me. You know, don't mess with my doctor, but you can mess with my master.
Now, really, no character in the history of the show is more linked to the master than Joe Grant is.
Very linked.
Because you were introduced in the same story. You and Mr. Delgado ran through the same 3 years. Do you see any of Delgado in what she's doing?
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, just in the look alone, if you think about it, if you were to take, you know, a picture of Roger, and, you know, some very serious hair removal. But if you actually look, the bone structure, the colouring, and the fact that her name is Gomez and he was Delgado, hello. You have to forgive me. I have this problem. I have a lot of people living in here. And every now and again, they pop out. I've just been talking dragon in the lift. Yes, you may ask yourselves. And it's sort of Anyway, so if I go in and out of accents, just ignore me, all right? Just let it go.
Okay, I think that...
But no, I think Michelle, and also she is the loveliest woman. She's a wonderful, wonderful actress. And I think what that has brought to the show has been magnificent. I love this new series. I have to confess, you may not be wanting to ask me this, but I'll answer it just in case you do.
Absolutely.
I didn't watch Doctor Who for some time. I mean, I never watched myself in it, but I started out watching Doctor Who when I was younger, and I absolutely loved it. How can you not? What a concept. Can you imagine walking into the BBC saying, now listen, I've got this really fabulous idea. It's about this chap, do you see, and he's got 2 hearts, and he flies around in a police box. Yep, have you tried Betty Ford? It's the second door on the left. Anyway, you know, it's this amazing concept, and it works for, you know, so many age groups. And when I went into it, Barry Letts was lifting that right up. But what did you ask me?
I don't know, you just talk.
But no, I didn't. I do know where I am. I was just testing you. Anyway, so when it sort of went into, and with no disrespect, because I love all the actors, I think they're absolutely brilliant, but it reached a time where, and I was living in Australia for a while, and I was living in America, and I wasn't getting the television show on a regular basis like you do in England. And so I kind of lost it a little bit. And then I went back into it, and it had changed, and I thought, was that me, the way that I'm perceiving it? But I thought, no, something was jarring with me. Now, I know that it's said that when Michael Grade, for the wrong reasons, took it off, I actually think that in a strange way he did it a favour. Because when Barry Letts took over, it made a growing up step, you know, and then, you know, with Tom Baker, and it went to this extraordinary level. And then it started to kind of plateau, I think, and not because of the actors or anything like that, just something wasn't quite clicking. And so I think by coming off, and then Russell T Davies, with all this passion and love that he had for the show, brought it back. I think it came back bigger and stronger, and I haven't missed one episode.
Now, speaking of the show coming back in 2005, when you watch that first episode and the first thing you see are Autons, how did that make you feel?
Hello to an old friend, wasn't it? I mean, that was a problem when we did that one, because some of the ones we did were actually a little bit violent, darling. I mean, you know, there was people getting shot with guns in some of them. They don't do that anymore. But there was, with the Autons, I mean, there was children running around who wouldn't talk to policemen anymore. I mean, it's just not good. You know, they'd ask the nice policeman the way to, no! You know, and you know, people used to come around selling products, and they would give you a free daffodil. Hello, you know. And then those lovely, very trendy 70s blow-up plastic chairs. They eat you. So their sales went boing, you know, and policemen ripping faces off, and daffodils, you know, and all that acting I had to do. You know, it was quite a frightening episode. Of course, at the time, John realized too that he was going to be working with a woman who, the moment I walked into that circus, I got very upset about how it was wrong to have circus animals. And he said to Barry Letts, this is going to happen a lot, isn't it? She's about to open the door for the lions, the tigers, and march off with them.
I think that this photo proves that we're back to that with there's been a lot of comparisons to Capaldi with Pertwee, and now that we have the master back, when is Joe Grant coming back to the new series? I mean, it is the most natural thing to have happen.
Well, yes, except that now you'd have Joe on a souped-up walking frame.
It's all right, Doctor, I'm coming.
You know, I don't know, I think we've all had enough of old Joe.
No, never.
But I love the fact that she's dropped all these children at the bottom of mountains and not had them educated. You know, well, they're educated, but by her and Cliff. And, you know, the fact that she chained herself to Robert Mugabe. I mean, it was a hell of a fabulous story for Joe. And so perfectly right, wasn't it? I mean, he couldn't have written. It was like it was the loveliest thing that anybody could have, was to have known and loved the character so much that he was able to write this incredible background for her. And boy, how cute was my grandson.
Oh yeah. Woo! I cried in that episode.
But it was so touching when I played that scene. Because you have to remember, it was really frightening for me, and Liz and I had been friends for a long time. And I said to her, I am so scared because, you know, this old Granny Joe is coming back, and, you know, I don't quite, as an actress, I had to work out how Joe would have been, the character I'm playing, how all of that lifestyle would have affected her. How would she be? You have to see that life in her. You know what I mean? There's no point just coming back trying to pretend to be what I was. Joe has now got this life on top of that, and I had to measure all that, and there's no rehearsal. You just shoot and go, you know. So I had to really think about how I was going to make her this woman, but still be who Joe was, as we all, you know, kind of are. And Liz was so lovely, and she said, it's great, first of all, she said, because my character's always a bit heavy. And so it's kind of nice to have Jo because she's so light and frothy. And she said it gives me an opportunity to lighten up, so it was great. But she said, I know exactly how you're feeling. And she said, so, you know, I'm right with you. And Matt was such a sweetheart because when I was playing that very emotional scene, you have to bear in mind, actually it brought so much back of my past. And I got this, you know, this huge churn. I get it now just thinking about it, you know. I know I'm all light and frothy, but there's, you know. And I guess felt this sort of, you know, because in my head, I live in the moment. I don't go back. I really do. Most of it I don't remember anyway. But I don't. I live so much in the moment because it's all I've got. It's all I want is the moment. And so suddenly I allowed myself to go back to those times, those wonderful days with this man who I loved with every fiber of my being. So it was such an extraordinary, I get quite emotional talking about it, I'm so sorry.
That episode made me cry so much.
But at the same time, as an actress, I had to be aware. I hope this is interesting. I mean, if that's not, just say, oh, shut up and get on with it. So where we were sitting in this kind of, yeah, here I am again in a clay pit, but not in a miniskirt, thank goodness. And Matt said to me, he said, take as long as you like. And I said, thank you. And he said, and I'll go wherever you go. So in other words, I was able as an actress to feel it, to use the dialogue within reason. But he's the kind of actor which John wasn't. John was a man that, you know, those are other stories, who liked every word, which I've worked with, you know. As an actress, I've done that on many levels where you have to be dead letter perfect, as we call it. Whereas there are other actors, and you know, and I've been lucky enough to have been through so many generations of acting now, to have learned all the different styles as they go. And anyway, so he said to me, you go where you want, and I'll be right there with you. So I said, okay, but I also had to bear in mind that this is a children's program. So you don't want to have me going, oh, I'm doing all that major. You've got to balance exactly the tears, the joy, and all those emotions in a very short period of time. And he was absolutely wonderful. And I hope, I believe, with, you know, by just bringing the laughter through the tears, that scene really, really worked. And it seems that it did work with the people watching. So thank you very much.
Okay, if you have questions for Ms. Manning, please come line up at the microphone here. Not you, ma'am.
You see, my instinct is to come to you. I tell you what, why don't I sit here and then they don't have to feel so far away?
Okay, well, while they're lining up, I have a story that I want to tell you.
Actually, I'm going to have a lie down, that's why
Okay,
I'm here.
well, I have an interesting story that I want to tell you while they're lining up. After I had all the details worked out with your agent, we were going to try and get Michelle Gomez. And I thought, oh, it's a long shot, well, it'll never work out. And we kept trying to get in touch with the right people, and I thought, oh, I just need a sign that something is going to work out. So I finally emailed the right agency, and I got contacted back from the agent that represents her. Her agent's name is Josephine.
No.
Yes, and I was like, that's my sign. We're going to get them both.
Oh, I love that, you see. I love all those little stuff. I don't know where I'm going. I'm like a little dog making its bed, aren't I? Right. So I'll be with you in a minute. Just hold on, just hold on. Listen, I like this. What? Look. No idea why I did that. Hello, darlings. Questions lining up for.
Yes. Hey, Katy. I just read an interview recently in The Guardian where you and some of the other companions were talking about clothes, and you said a lot of stuff of Joe Grant's came from the Biba store in the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
Was there any outfit that you really loved, and was there any outfit you really disliked?
to be honest with you, I love clothes. I seriously love clothes. And especially back then. And I did my very first modeling job for Bieber because my sister, who was 5'11" and a top model with Eileen Ford ultimately in New York. But back then she was modeling in London, and she said, because Bieber bought in the first size 4 and 6, I used to have to buy children's clothes and then kind of modify them. And so when Bieber opened and they needed to do their first fashion show, I got to model their clothes. But as far as the clothes I wore in Doctor Who, I think they were kind of frightening. Also, they were totally not terrific for the cold weather that we shot in. I mean, they had to pour boiling water round my little suede Bieber boot to unstick my feet that were frozen to the ground. All the blokes had long johns on, and and things. And there's me in this ridiculous skirt. In the end, I actually wore blue stockings because that was the colour my legs went. Seriously, I spent so much of my life underneath John's cloak. But the thing about Jo was she was very much a girl of her time. So it was right that I wore those things. And the rings, of course, were mine when I actually was given the part of Jo Grant, which I will tell you one day about my audition, because it's very different to any other audition. And the rings were there because I used to bite my nails, so I used to wear a lot of rings to make my hands heavy, so I couldn't get into my mouth quickly. And that's the truth. That's where all the rings started. And they decided when they cast me that that was going to be very much a part of Jo. So there you are. Did I just answer your question, darling, or did I just talk?
No. We can talk all day, Katy. I just wanted to show you my third doctor.
Darling, you have to get closer, sweetie. It's like, I am Stevie Wonder. Oh, what a wow. Ooh, ah. Oh, hello, look at it.
He's even got the nose.
Which, when they brought out my action figures, you look stunning. I do love a man in velvet, don't you? Oh, is that what it is? I'm glad you... But no, I do. I remember when they first brought out my figurine and they bought me the prototype. And I took one look at it and I said, I look like a cross between John Pertwee and Roger Delgado's love child. I mean, truly. So they modified it. Hello, darling. I'm actually talking to a blank here, so if I'm aiming my eyes where I think you are. Hi. I've been doing that as an actress for a long time.
I'm not as good who was Jo before with tiny Joes in my pocket. Hi again.
Hello. You've got the mini Joes in your pocket?
Yeah.
I know who you are now. I can't see you from here, but I know who you are. Hello, darling.
Hello. First of all, you look lovely.
Well, that's really sweet of you. She's wearing my glasses.
Second of all, I really enjoyed your episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what it was like filming that episode, and maybe particularly about that scene where you and Liz are hugging each other in the coffin and laughing, and if that was scripted or...
No, well, Russell said he and would have loved to have used the footage of what really happened in the coffin. Because in actual fact, first thing we looked and I said, this is going to be like jumping a 5-bar gate. Listen, it was a very high coffin. We had to kind of, well, of course, it was much smaller inside. It's a sort of a TARDIS thing going on here. It was much smaller inside than it looked, right? So basically, I jumped it, she jumped it, I jumped it. Lid comes down, lid comes up. I'm actually lying on top of her. I mean, in the most compromising position. It really was a whole new Doctor Who going on. The X-rated version, which of course you can imagine, we were crying with laughter. And, you know, but then they had to sort of get us out, so to speak, and rearrange us so that it wasn't quite so naughty. And so they rearranged us. But the whole thing was, and Russell said to this day, he said, the laughter, which had to be cut down to a minimum, they really, it was wonderful. It was a great moment for Liz and I, you know, to have that. It was joyous. I mean, it really, really was. It's something I will never forget, being in a coffin with Liz Sladen. You know, amazing. Absolutely. Hello, darling.
Hello. Well, first of all,
Sorry. Yes.
I was the other Osgood that got a photo right before the last Osgood.
Oh, that's right. Now, you see, with all the Osgoods, darling, I mean, I get so confused, and then I see the scarf, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, is this a little Tom? Okay.
Well, first of all, I would love it if you came back. Don't think you're too old at all. But I had a thought of, like, what if there was a series that was like Sarah Jane Adventures, only was animated? What would be your thoughts on that? And, like, voice
Oh, I'll do anything that's animated. No, no. I think if they did something, because I think actually, in a strange way, Jo Grant Jones, you know, that's quite a story, because she basically the great thing about Jo's character, you actually saw her grow up in front of your very eyes. She went in as this little tiny thing, this little totally, you know, oh gosh, doctor, look out, there's a big one, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And, but doctor, and then you saw her slowly coming into thinking for herself and understanding, and, you know, also you could see she was the kind of woman, she laid down her life for the doctor on several occasions. But you could see that what she learned from him was he was sort of taking care of business in the universe. She wanted to take care of business on this planet, which is interesting because I did then, and I still do, very much so. And I think that was a, you know, lovely sort of way to go. And I think when you look at her life, and with the, you know, the 13 grandchildren, you could make a terrific story around all that, you know, saving this planet.
And so I thought, like, if it was animated, you could go anywhere in the timeline.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter that I could do it without the physicality. No, and I would like, something like that would be terrific. I would very happily do something like, because I do think Jo was an interesting character, you know, that had quite a good life after, because she was of this planet, you know, so, yeah. I just have to tell you, I cut my own hair for that, because I thought, do you know, this is the silly thing I do as an actress. I take it so seriously, and I thought, well, hang on. This woman hasn't been near a hairdresser in 40 years. So I got a pair of pinking shears, and I cut my hair, because I thought that would be right for Jo. And then I got there, and I looked in the mirror, and I thought, why did I do that? This is tragically, and there's Liz with this beautiful, you know, like, I thought, and there I've done it again, haven't I? You know, I can't help myself.
I didn't notice you were beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, darling.
Hi. I am a big fan of your work with Big Finish as well. And I'm just wondering what the difference is between the process of the audio plays and all the television and theater that you've done. When you get the...
Sorry, I should have had my afternoon nap right now. My brain's gone. So
basically, take us through the Big Finish process from getting the script.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Do you want to know how Iris Wild Time started? I got off a plane from Australia, which is about 28 hours flying. I walked into a studio where Gary Russell was waiting for me, and I said, what's this that I'm doing? He said, oh, it's a character written by Paul Mars called Iris Wild Time. I said, well, okay, so I hadn't read the script, knew nothing about it. And I sort of quickly looked at it and I said, well, what do you want me to do? He said, oh, just do what you do. And Iris, while time was born, out she come, hey, chuck. And that was it. But on that particular, but quite often, you know, you do get to see them ahead. But you see, I read all the characters. I don't do them separately. You know, we all work differently. I don't do them separately. I do all the characters as they come in off the page, so they're kind of talking to each other. Because that's something I've done on stage on numerous occasions. So I know, and it's quicker, and you get a much better rapport between the characters if I'm being them all as they come off the page. We don't have a huge preparation. You get the script when you get the script. You know, basically, and you go in, and your job is to do it, and do it quickly and efficiently, because you're only going to have X amount of hours to do it in. You know, it's a bit like in my day when we were doing Doctor Who. If you weren't finished filming by 10 o'clock, the sprinklers went on. That was it. Bye-bye. So, you know, there is a time limit. You know, we don't have all the time in the world. So you have to be able to control and work your emotions, and you have to be ready. Sometimes, I confess, I have no idea. Some of the scripts I've done, I haven't even understood. Truly, there was one I did, no disrespect to the writer, called The Doll of Death, and I still don't understand it. But I have to do it like I do. Is that what you wanted to know, or have I just answered the wrong question? Because I'm good at that.
I think that's good.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, just one question also related to Big Finish. I know you didn't actually appear on screen, but would you consider playing Joe Grant alongside Tom Baker?
Did I?
Would you?
Oh, would I? I was going to say, did I? I'll play Joe Grant alongside anybody. I adore Tom Baker. I think he's wonderful. I've worked with Sylvester. I mean, I have loved it. I'm working with Colin, doing the Wormery. I mean, was a sheer delight. Absolutely. But it's really interesting, actually, working with other doctors, you know, the dynamics. And the lovely thing about Jo is she kind of, and Iris, they kind of fit in with any of them, which is lovely. But yeah,
I was thinking like the time period when Tom Baker was still working for UNIT, and of course your character would have just left, but rehearing would sort of make sense.
I think you know more than I do.
did Tom Baker work with UNIT?
A little bit.
Yes, he did, didn't he? Yeah, no, and
So you would consider it then?
sure. Listen, absolutely.
Has
Darling,
anything like that ever been offered?
not Tom, but as you say, I've worked with Peter Davidson, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, so I'm moving. But no, I would never say no. They're all such wonderful actors. It would be an honor to work with any of them. Absolutely. Hello, darling.
I have to keep moving. I'm not very good at being still unless I'm playing a still character.
I wanted to know what your favorite TARDIS was.
My favorite TARDIS? Well, actually, I rather like the current one. I feel bad because I should say, oh yes, no, I like the John Pertwee TARDIS. I mean, I do very much like the one that's got, but I was talking to Peter Capaldi about this, and as I say, each doctor comes in, they bring their own interior designer and do their 60-minute makeover. And, you know, the lovely thing about Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi was they take you around the TARDIS, and it is so real. They say, and this is what's here, and that's what there, and blah, blah, blah. And they really do. It's become their home. It's absolutely, it's enchanting. But I think that the current one, but then Peter Capaldi said to me, I said, what would you do if I sent the 60-minute makeover team in? You know, what would you have? Because you all make it your own TARDIS. And he said, actually, he said, I'd like to go back to the simpler one with the big bumps on the side. So, you know, who knows? Who knows? I love them all, darling. I don't think I have favorites in anything.
Hi, Ken.
Oh, your little light. I can see your little light. There's a light over in the Frankenstein.
I have to say first off, because my dad passed away like 7 years ago, but I met you in the hallway. I'm the one that was named
Oh, I
after your
remember.
character.
Yes.
Yes. And
Your
so
name is
that was my
Josephine.
dad's little secret. He was in love with you in Doctor Who, but he didn't want my mom to find out, so he just named his daughter.
I didn't want your mother to find out either.
And I have to say that one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who is the Loch Ness Monster one, because I was probably about 3 or 4 when my dad showed it to me. So that was like the perfect time to show me that, you know, anything can be possible, and, you know, you never know what's going to jump out of the lake at you, or anything like that. I was wondering if there was an episode of Doctor Who in particular that really stood out for you, that is like one of your first memories when you think back on it.
Well, you know, I obviously have to say on that one, every single episode, every day, something wonderful, different, and extraordinary happened. You know, it wasn't just like one story after 3 years. Working with people like John Pertwee and so on, you know, it's an extraordinary, exciting, funny, learning experience, you know, and John and I, you know, as I say, we used to do voices together, we used to create all these incredible characters. But my very, very first day, I will never forget that. That's something that will always stay with me. And my very, very last day, where I thought it was wonderful that it was so emotional that we didn't use dialogue.
So hard.
And I think that really was so strong. The fact that we could play this whole thing with just looks. And that was the emotion, but can you imagine the emotion that was actually there in the studio as well? So I will never forget either of those times, definitely. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, Josephine. I nearly fell off the stage again. Do you know I did that once? I just quickly tell you. Shall I tell you how I fell off the stage, darling? I was doing a play at the Chichester Festival. I'm sorry, I just get sidetracked. Doing a play at the Chichester Festival. And I was playing this very uptight little school teacher. And I had to go and sit down on this beanbag. Those of you who know what a beanbag is. So I, you know, and off I went and I sat down on my beanbag. And the other actor, wonderful actor, used to be in a low, came bounding across the stage and threw himself next to me on the beanbag.
Well, I don't weigh very much, do I?
I went up in the air and I landed right in this woman's lap. And I had no idea, so I just looked up and I said, I think you need to get a bigger flat. Sorry, I just got something. Hello, gorgeous girl. Hello, because you come to my microphone, oh, that's a silly one. There, you come and sit with me. There, now what was your question?
Was it fun for you to be on Doctor Who?
It was the most fun thing you can ever imagine. I mean, can you imagine being in it? Would you have fun? And you know what's lovely about acting? You get to play make-believe all the time. It's so fabulous. And you can be anybody you want to be. But you also have to remember, a lot of people don't know this about acting, but there are 3 things you have to have. And you have to have dedication, determination, and you know what the most important one is? Discipline. I know. But it's a fun job. Do you think you'd like to be an actress? Would you? And would you like to be in Doctor Who? I think we're looking at the new Joe Grant here, right here.
We We have just a couple of more minutes.
Then you can all go and have a lie down. Hello, darling.
Hello. I don't so much have a question for you, I have a gift.
Proposal?
If you weren't taken, I would.
I've never been married. Don't ignore Wikipedia. I have never been married.
I have a gift for you. Over there on the
You
table,
do?
I have these Doctor Who figures, and there's one of Joe Grant I'd like you to have.
Oh, wow. Oh, aren't they fabulous? Oh, there's a little Bessie. And a brigadier. Oh, aren't they wonderful? And they're all doing something wonderfully right. Oh, thank you so much. I just love the way he sounds when he talks. I love that breath that just comes out of everything you say. You do not know, it makes my hair curl. Oh, thank you. That is too cute. Do you think a nose piercing of women? Thank you. Thank you.
And one lonely little last person.
Hi, me again. Fairly recently on your Facebook page, there was a post about one of your older films called The Golden...
Facebook.
Yeah, there's a Katy Manny Facebook
Yes,
page.
no, it's I don't run it. I have to
Oh,
warn
okay.
you here and now.
Okay.
I only tweet, sweetie. If you can't say it in 40 characters, don't bother.
I do love your
I mean, you know, the trouble is Facebook. Everybody gives you their entire life, you know. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but, you know.
No, I do.
I'm a
I do really love
tweeter.
your Twitter. I'll probably have a
What
question
did it
about that
say?
later.
Anyway, I'd be really interested.
Anyway, there was an article about one of your older films called The Golden Road. There was a screening of it, and I would really love to see it. Do you know if it's available anywhere to see, or can you just talk about what that was like?
It was an extraordinary. They brought it back to the BFI a couple of months, well, a month or so ago, which they discovered was a groundbreaking piece of television. And guess who directed it?
Douglas Camfield?
Yes, Douglas Camfield. Because when I left Doctor Who, I'd never worked on Doctor Who with Douglas Camfield. And I'll say this as gently and carefully, but guess what he cast me in the moment that I left Doctor Who? He cast me as a junkie in Target, and one of the first, you never know with there's children here, I don't know how to say things. Yes, a lady who liked ladies. I'm always terribly careful because I don't know what's politically correct anymore, you know. I'm too old to do politically correct. So it was an extraordinary way, so that's how he saw me. But it was an honor to play the role, and they brought it back because, in actual fact, they brought it back on the same day as the first same-sex marriage were having their first divorce and alimony. So, and the one that I did was the very first court case of who would have custody of the children when it was found out that the older woman was having an affair with the younger girl, i.e. me. So it actually was very groundbreaking television. It was a true court case. And it just shows we have travelled a little further in an area which I am very, very, very supportive of and always will be. So it was an honour to have been in it and to have been part of that. And yes, the Golden Road, my darling, and I'm sure, like so many other things, Man at the Top's now out on DVD, and a lot of the things that I did in there. And you know what's so weird? I know he's doing the wind-up signal. Get her out, get her out. Get the trolley and take her off. It was. They also brought out, I think, quite a few of those things that one's done in the past, you know. But what was interesting, I always thought, when you go and say, I took my daughter and my goddaughter to this thing at the BFI, and what was amazing, because I never watched myself, so I was petrified, I thought, oh, it's going to be that terrible old-fashioned acting. And in actual fact, it stood up absolutely solidly to today, and my goddaughter, who's like 20, said it was just amazing. Absolutely loved it. So isn't that nice? I was a modern actress, darling, thank goodness. Thank you.
Well, that's a first for me at TimeGate. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you've had a great time.
I honestly, I cannot tell you. I mean, I love people. I think that you might have got that. I love people, I love Anne, I love so much. But coming here to this, and thank you for having the courage to invite me, is that the generosity of all of you, you know, the absolute love and affection, and that is what Doctor Who is all about. And as I say, without you guys, it just really isn't. And thank you for all the love and the support that you have given it for all the years that you have and for all the years that it's still going on. Thank you so much.
Katy Manning.